It's time to present Scott to Pod to bring you another episode of Finance Your Movie with tips and strategies to help you get your money to tell your story. It's time!
Another episode of Finance Your Movie. I'm here with John Woodruff, writer, director, actor, man of many hats, including these.
Can't go wrong.
And we are back shooting on location again at Boster Castle Studios. Thanks to Adam Boster for hosting us. And one of the reasons we're here, you suggested, hey, we're doing this low-budget movie, under $1 million. I know a great place where we can get massive incentives and have this turnkey plug-and-play solution. So that's why we're here, and that's where your next movie's gonna shoot.
Definitely, yeah. As you know, it takes so many different elements to align just right to get one of these things up and running. So as you're going through the creative process, always thinking about like, how can I bring this to tangible reality? So I'm constantly shopping around, looking at different states' incentives, the minimum spend, constantly looking at the infrastructure in that state. I'm a huge hometown boy in spite of the Yankees cap. I was born in Ohio, grew up in Ohio, except for the time I spent in New York and LA. And so I love to host productions there. But right now, Missouri has this incentive that can't be beat.
Insane.
40 to 42% at $100,000 minimum spend, whereas with most other states, you know, you get into the $200,000 to $300,000 minimum spend.
500,000.
Yeah, and then it drops you down to what, 20 to 30%. So that becomes really hard to beat. And then I met this amazing producer out here, Adam Boster, who has this amazing studio that he spent years building and has built an entire infrastructure that's basically turnkey, ready to go. So when push comes to shove, I cannot justify shooting my film in a different location with a different team than Boster Castle Studios here in Missouri.
I was just back there a minute ago, quick sidebar. I didn't realize on property right here, they have their own woodworking shop, their own machine shop, and their own print shop. I was shooting a movie back in Florida. I love shooting in Florida. It's my hometown place to shoot. But we had to go get a poster at Kinko's FedEx at the last minute. It's like $70.
Yeah.
We lost an hour and a half of time.
Yeah.
They've got poster machine. They got a whole print shop here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy because like you said, like if you're chained to a particular geographical location for a particular project, you have to get what you need in order to bring it to life. And that does entail, where are you going to do art department? Like, do you have to build set pieces? Where are you going to do that? Who's going to do that? How are you going to transport it? Where are you going to house it? Same with printing needs, same with catering, same with base camp, production offices, the entire transportation, everything. Yeah. How close are you to an airport?
Shuttle vans, yeah.
Yeah, the hotels, just everything. And Adam has just done a phenomenal job of putting everything together that a production could ever need, really regardless of budget. If you're hitting right at that $100,000 mark, he can accommodate you. If you scale up, he can accommodate you. But he does. He has rain machines if you need to wet down streets. He has relationships with the local government, the police, the firefighters, so you're not shooting guerrilla. I personally, not that I follow all the rules all the time. Yeah, but I hate it when people are looking back over their shoulder while you're shooting.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. The actors can't focus. The camera ops can't focus. You wonder if you're going to be able to get the whole scene before you're disrupted. And again, this is another one of those places where you don't have to worry about that, but you don't also have to pay $2,000 or $3,000 for a permit like you and I have encountered after years in LA. Yeah. So to your point, you don't spend all that time, effort, and energy wrangling it and running it down and orchestrating its arrival, putting it together. You can plan your shoot, your shot list, deal with your casting, the logistics to make it sing creatively because he has the foundation for the production infrastructure that you need.
Enough about Adam Boster. He didn't actually pay me to say any of that. I said that very genuinely. So if you're an indie filmmaker, definitely take a look. But I want to get back to you. That's why you're here. You had a very interesting story about how you got into this business. You were a model and an actor starting out?
Yeah, started off in theater actually and 2D design. But this is back when we were doing overlays and using stencils and different things like that. And everything went to computers, you know. So with that evolution, like my focus kind of changed and started to get into the modeling, started to get into the acting, and eventually needed to perpetuate more opportunities for myself. So
now when you're talking about modeling, you're talking about high-end modeling like in New York or
yeah,
Europe?
I was with elite models in New York, was with Red Models in New York. I modeled for Donna in Tokyo, which was a top agency there.
Was this like in the early 2000s?
This was from about 2004 until about 2012. While I was overseas, because of visa restrictions and different things like that, I couldn't be as active in production as I wanted to. So that's when I started to like write my own scripts and create my own opportunities so that when I got back stateside, I would have a production ready to go. And it didn't take me long to figure out that I actually enjoyed like creating the project and being behind the camera more than I did in front of the camera. So the natural evolution just then led me into production and led me to LA. That's pretty much where I've lived ever since.
And you've written a bunch of scripts. Writing is one of the smartest things you can do if you have talent because you're not spending a lot of money.
Yep.
And one of your scripts got picked up by an Academy Award, or optioned by an Academy Award-winning producer.
Yeah, one of the top 10 highest grossing producers of all time. And
That's huge.
Like you talk about frequently, you know, the project very much was designed to appeal to a broad audience, try to design it with the marketplace in mind, and he saw where it could work and then took the script further through development. I learned a tremendous amount as far as how to make it even more effective. So yeah, but that was really cool, and to go through that option process with somebody of that caliber.
So before we get to Night Takes All, that's the reason we're here, where you're going to shoot your next film. You did a film a couple years ago, Animals Among Us?
Animal Among Us, yes. That was my first feature as a lead producer and a director. Jonathan Murphy wrote it. They came to me early on to see if it's something that I would be able to help them with from a scripting perspective and a production perspective.
Like, by the way, do you want to raise the money for it? That question?
More so like, do you think this is makeable? What do you think it would take to make it? The script isn't quite where we want it, but we're at that point where we need more eyes on it. And Murphy and I hit it off really well. I felt like aligned on the project and the project's potential. So we started to kind of like shape the script to work more effectively in that low budget range, just because a couple of
What was the budget, by the way?
We ended up doing it from conception to completion for $80,000 all in.
Wow.
Very contained location on a 500-acre campground, so we were able to create a lot of movement in it, but we were able to run our base camp there, we were able to house our cast there, and obviously that was the backdrop of our story as well. So again, clever in its design to allow you to execute it at that budget level, but still a tremendous amount of help and favors from people that I had worked with for years in the industry and that Murphy had worked with for years in the industry, where somebody would jump on, help us out with sound, somebody help us out with score, color, like all that stuff, just so that we could hit that level of quality that would hopefully let us get the next one going.
So first feature, right?
Yep.
You know, 80,000's not a ton of money, but it's a decent amount of money. Where'd you get the money?
Through private equity investments, very similar to your model. Learned it from a guy who had won Sundance in 1997 with In a Company of Men. They did it for $25,000 all in, and I believe it went on to make $25 million, but this is back in 1997. So kind of like learned how to raise, learned how to produce under him and applied that model to Animal Among Us, just scaled it up to 80,000, which under 100,000 the rules don't really change.
But so you obviously got some good advice from this guy. What was some of the advice? Because even 80,000, not everyone's going to write an $80,000 check or $10,000 checks. What did you do?
So basically, in breaking it down to shares, we sold $5,000 shares. Of course, we have to have like our private placement memorandum with all of the legalities laid out as to like how the investment's structured, how it works, how the payouts work, and we also have to have our operating agreement as far as like how the company will work. So we had all of that together, and then we kind of pitched people on the merits of our careers. At that point, Murphy had a tremendous amount of experience as an actor. He had a lot of industry contacts. He had a lot of relationships with actors with really impressive resumes. I had a tremendous amount of production relationships with cinematographers and post people and different things like that. So we were able to show tangible assets and value attached to the project. We were able to present investors with that. And then we did reach out to sales agents and distributors and gauge interest on the project and how a film like this might perform in the marketplace.
And you got the film out.
And we got the film out. Yeah, we got the money a little bit quicker than I think we expected. So we were shooting a little bit more quickly than we expected, and we wrapped a little bit quicker than we expected. And then we got it done, and it's out. It's been out since 2019. We actually got a really nice release. We actually got a lot of press and a lot of visibility on it, and still out there living in the world, yeah.
Congrats. So we're at Night Takes All. Tell us just a little bit about that, because you don't have it fully funded yet, but just give us a quick tease about that movie.
Yeah, so basically, when I was on the festival circuit with Animal Among Us and I was marketing it, I met a gentleman who has severe cerebral palsy, and he had just this insane knowledge and love for films. And we ended up connecting, talking about film a lot and building a really great friendship. But I noticed a severe absence of people in the disability community at film festivals, on screen and in the audience. And I started
Like
looking
tiny, like
no one,
like less than 1%,
easily. Yeah, I you know,
1/10 of 1%.
yeah, I don't think I actually saw a single person that was visibly disabled like in any of these settings. And it really struck me because of his passion and his love for film and how connected he was to it. So I started just thinking, like, what if he could have this experience? Like, what if he could be a part of making a film? What if he could be a part of going to the festivals and being on panels and sharing his life experience and his perspective? And then I started thinking, like, what if he could star in the film? What if a guy like that could literally go on the hero's journey and save the world? Like, it's the ultimate underdog story, and Hollywood loves an underdog, and Hollywood is trying to diversify and broaden audience appeal in its storytelling, and they're still radically behind on this curve. So that is kind of like the
And he was your first
inception.
investor, right?
Not an investor in a financial sense, but kind of like really inspired the story, and really we started talking very actively about how it might work. It got me into a position to learn a lot more about his condition, his life, his experience, his philosophies and worldviews, which became integral to the story. So very educational, very interesting experience in the development of the film. And then as I'm going through that process, obviously like gauging the marketplace, obviously seeing like, okay, this falls a little bit more in the elevated horror category, which can perform really well, and I'm grounding it very much in reality. So we've got the prestige drama aspect, which can perform really well, especially when dealing with a disabled protagonist. You know, there's only one disabled actor in every 900 film and television productions that are put out, even in this day and age. But yet there's something like 15% of the United States population has a disability with
15%?
15%, yeah.
Wow.
And on a worldwide level, I'm not sure what the percentage breaks down to, but it's over 1.6 billion people. And they're pretty, it's a demographic that's pretty overlooked in mainstream film and television. So really started like taking that into account and the potential of that audience and the potential of this elevated prestige drama kind of genre and how it can work within the marketplace. Obviously, there are a few case studies that you can look to. A Quiet Place, Run, which is on Hulu, more drama-based stuff, Peanut Butter Falcon, that have performed really, really well, because I think we're at a place where people are looking for something that has value beyond the entertainment appeal. And
that's a reason why sometimes people invest. They see the business opportunity, but they want some other value.
Yeah, and I think that this becomes like kind of the perfect platform to deliver that on. So it's interesting how it's kind of built. And then of course, you know, it's a very contained location, but to keep it visually interesting, there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of different dynamics that come into effect. It is cinema after all. So, you know, really find myself looking like, where can I shoot this? Like, where can I get the resources to pull this off to the degree of quality that it deserves? And then full circle back around to Boster Castle Studios. He had me come out and visit a few months ago. I was absolutely just blown away by his crew, blown away by his infrastructure. His work speaks for itself, and it was a perfect fit. So here we are.
Here we are. What advice, because you went through the process with Animal Among Us. Mm-hmm. You started this process, you got your first investor on board, maybe a couple already, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's some parting words of advice for a first-time, second-time filmmaker looking for money?
Even as a first-time, I would say especially for a first-time filmmaker, but even as a second, third, fourth, fifth-time filmmaker, it really is all about relationships. And I would say not relationships in the sense of you have to know someone famous or you have to sell your script to a top 10 highest grossing producer, but relationships with people that have the knowledge, the experience, the credibility to lend to you and your project, to make investors feel comfortable, make them feel safe.
You're talking about the team.
Your team. And that's what I mean by the relationships. It's like find the person that can support you from a production perspective. Find the person that can help you from a business perspective. Find the person that's gone through the process before and has a little bit of experience with raising money and delivering a film and actually hopefully getting distribution for it. You can learn from everybody, of course. You can learn from the people that have not yet obviously been successful in that initiative, and you can learn from those that have done it over and over and over again. But in building those relationships and bringing people onto your team with that track record, again, it can make investors feel a lot more comfortable. It adds security to the project. It makes your job easier. So I think, that's my, and you're educating yourself as you're doing it because you're learning from their experience and from their wisdom. So I think that really, it's find a guy like Scott, find a guy like Adam, find a guy that has written several films, get feedback on your script, that's raised money, and
wherever you are. If you're in Atlanta, there's lots of producers out there that have experience. You could hook up with somebody where you are.
Better yet, in this day and age, and I mean, I was based out of LA for over 10 years. Once the pandemic hit and things went completely remote, in my experience, it never really bounced back. The networking events aren't there in the same way that they used to be. People aren't taking lunch. They're not taking coffee the way they did. Even if you get it on the calendar at the last minute, it's always like, hey, Scott, you just want to jump on Zoom.
Yeah,
you avoid the traffic. You avoid the parking. And so to your point, there are people everywhere and they are all accessible now online. And a lot of people in this industry really looking to support, help, nurture the industry, nurture young talent, and reach out. Like do your research and reach out to people and tell them what appealed to you about their work and what you saw in them and how maybe they could help you a little bit. And you would be surprised at how easy it is to network and access people remotely and online in this day and age.
What's that old saying? If you don't ask, you won't get, or something like that?
Something like that. I'll take it. I like that saying.
Yeah. If you don't ask, you're not going to get. What's the best way people can contact or follow you?
The best way to find me is probably on Facebook or Instagram. It's just my name, John Woodruff, the real John Woodruff. It pops up pretty quick. My website is John Woodruff Productions. You can find me there. You can contact me there, or through IMDb Pro. I've got some contact up there.
Awesome. Thanks, John. It was great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam, for hosting us here at Boster Castle Studios.
It's time!
There's never been a better time to make your own film. And if you have a dream project you're excited about and 100% committed to getting it funded, go to financeyourmovie.com, click on the green telephone, you'll see our calendar and find an open spot. We'll do a one-on-one call, which will be the best hour you've ever spent getting clarity and strategy towards financing your movie.